You can have all the physical tools in the world, man. I saw the most talented athletes at the top level not do anything on Saturdays because they didn't have it here. They couldn't put themselves into something bigger. Football's a team game. You see the best quarterbacks lose all the time, right? You had like Caleb Williams at USC. They had the best quarterback. Why did they not have the best team? Well, there's 11 players on the field. If they're not all doing their job, which I think translate to a business aspect where if me and my service manager are not on the same page, he has his order of processes, and here I am, being the salesperson, like, come on, they need this now. It's not going to work.
Okay, I'm here with Curtis Raymond. We met from we do the same thing for in our careers, and so this has brought us together. And I think the first thing I would say about us is that even though we compete against each other, that you can still help each other in a way to get where both of us want to be in the world. So, Curtis.
Absolutely. I'm Curtis from Dripping Springs, Texas, born and raised, and had my journey and found myself here doing sales for Acoma Heavy Machinery.
Okay, cool. So Curtis does heavy machinery like we do. We rent out. He rents machinery for Acoma, and we met from LinkedIn, and then got together, and now we do business together. Other. We try to help each other if maybe one of us is out of equipment,
Absolutely.
and that's a fun. That's a very can be terrible and can be very good relationship that
Absolutely.
over the years that has transpired because there's even some equipment companies that won't we call that sub rentals for people we sub rent to people we sub rent from each other to rent to other people because we would run out of like a specific type of machinery, and so then we kind of bond together and then still take care of our customer, then try to be basically, like, I would say we try to not step on each other's toes while we're doing it, right?
Absolutely. And that's all a respect thing. And the reason we do that is because I trust your service, right?
Yeah.
We know what you're capable of. We know that when our customer has a downed unit, if it's your unit, you're going to have a guy out there quickly, and vice versa. We're just the best at providing service, and so are you guys. And I think that's naturally formed a partnership for us to work together. And I'd say we definitely don't do that with a lot of companies, but knowing that you have our back, we have your back. You're going to answer the phone at Saturday at 11 p.m. Old Kurt's going to answer the phone at Saturday at 11 p.m. and so am I. And just having that bond and being able to take care of people is what it's about, right? If your customer needs a 10K right now and we're scrapped fresh and they're scrambling, I don't want to be like, sorry, we're out of equipment, right? I want to be able to provide a solution, help them work towards their project, keep them rolling, whatever it is they have going, and not have any hiccups with it.
Yeah. Well, let's hear the good stuff. So, a little bit about Curtis. Tell us about Dripping Springs. Tell us the origin stories, and then we'll get into the good business stuff, man. The business stuff that people want to hear.
Absolutely. I think to understand any man, it's important to understand his parents and to learn their upbringing. Everybody has different childhood traumas. Everybody's been through different childhoods. People had parents who were together. People didn't have parents. And I was blessed to grow up to a mom and a father who were completely selfless. I was born in Austin, Texas, while my father was attending Texas Tech. My father was studying architecture, and they were home on summer vacation, and it was time for Curtis to come
Yes,
out here,
sir.
and actually May 17th, so just this past weekend was my birthday. And man, just the love that my parents have shown for each other is, I couldn't be more grateful and blessed to be in such an upbringing. And when my parents were in college, we're living in a duplex off the loop up in Lubbock. We're living in, what some would maybe consider the ghetto nowadays. We were not in a great area. My parents didn't have anything. My mother was waiting tables at Texas Land and Cattle. And to see the way that they selflessly set everything aside and raised three children, I have two sisters, has blown my mind. And, seeing how my father, he's an architect, His father before him was in concrete. So I grew up on job sites for residential locations. So my love for construction started immediately, right? I'm like, wow, like, how do these guys build these buildings? And even this room we're in, all the fine details it takes to bring a full project together from the beginning to the end always fascinated me. And from there, I grew up and my parents had their rifts, they had their issues, and were able to keep it together. Were able to selflessly provide for their children. And a big part of that I think about is when I was 8 years old, and as a child, you never realize, right, what your parents are going through. You can never fully appreciate the love. Here I am 25 with no children, and I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to understand, and it's changed my love for my parents for everything that they did. But you'll never understand what they did. And my mother is taking night classes at Texas State, raising three children while having a full-time job as a teacher, which everybody knows teachers are underpaid and work incredibly hard to provide for these children. So seeing the sacrifice that she put, it motivates me every day. And that part of my childhood, I'm in debt to my mother forever.
Yeah, priceless, right? The mother is man, that's deep, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So yeah, you grew up and then humble beginnings, and you lived in Lubbock.
So lived in Lubbock till my father graduated, and he went and worked for Cornerstone Architecture in Austin. His family was from Austin. My mother was an Air Force child. She was all over. Her parents are separated. She had an interesting upbringing there. And so we moved back to Austin after that. And man, just my father went into Cornerstone knowing, a big corporate architecture firm, knowing I'm going to come in here and learn everything that it takes to start my own firm. I'm going to learn how to run a business. And his father before him had his own concrete business. So he had a decent idea, and it wasn't always successful for him. And came in, learned how to do it, and went off on his own. Took the jump to being a small business owner, and has just watched that thing grow tremendously to where, he's built his own house. They're in a good position. And that growth, the growing that they went through together, the learning that they went through together allowed them to provide for their children and with really no option. So
Yeah, yeah. Then I totally get that. I totally get that. So you grew up in Austin. So then I'm sorry, how old were you when you moved to Austin?
so we were living in an apartment in Austin, very small, humble,
Yeah.
and at the time, Dripping Springs was a rural town
Yeah.
southwest of Austin, 30-minute drive though, and you could get out of Austin quick and be in rural lands. Now there's 100 stoplights and it takes an hour to get to Austin, and you're sitting in traffic and that. And so I think they had their vision of having a suburban upbringing, having a small town, a good education system where their kids could come and learn and grow and be around the right people. And so grow up in Dripping Springs where you're in a neighborhood, one elementary school, one middle school, one high school, and me and my buddies are arguing at recess about the football rules, and just super competitive, super good environment to be raised in, and just blessed from that. And so from there, just my mother had very high expectations for my education. She's been a public educator for, I'm going to butcher, I want to say 20 years, and all the way to the point of being a principal now.
Okay, hold on a minute. Did you make all A's?
Not for
No,
the
did you make
entirety, but
mostly all A's?
that was the expectation.
Okay. All right.
That was
Did
the
you make it?
expectation.
All right.
I'm sitting there doing my homework while my buddies are out
No,
playing
no.
ball, and I'm like, "Oh, let me go! I want to have a sleepover with my
Yeah.
friends." And she's like, "No, do your," and we're talking like extra homework, like
Yeah.
extra math problems. And looking back at it, I obviously thank her for that,
Yeah,
for
right.
that level of discipline that she set in the family. You can't get it like that. And so school education was immediately a forefront of my life. On top of that, religion. We were in church every Sunday growing up, but I always had an interest for sports. I loved competing. I loved playing ball. I loved baseball was truly my sport all growing up. And man, Sunday mornings, I'm in my youth baseball uniform. We're rushing into church. My father's always running late. He can't help it, man. He does everything he can. He just can't help it. He's always going to be late, rushing us into church. We sit there, listen to the message, and we're sneaking out 10 minutes early at the end of worship to get to the baseball game. And that was the expectation. No Saturday sleepovers. We're going to church. And that's the type of family that they chose
Yeah.
to raise.
Yeah, I love it. Excellent. I mean, everyone has their own thing. Dude, that's amazing. So, then did you and then y'all lived there for till you graduated?
My parents still live in Dripping
Oh,
Springs.
crazy. Yeah. So it's you, but I feel like Dripping Springs now. I mean, I know where that is. Of course, I've been there a bunch of times. So,
Absolutely. One of the fastest growing
yeah.
areas in
Yeah.
Texas, at least. And the population's blown
Yeah.
up.
Right.
It's not a
Right.
small town. You can't get away with the back road stuff the
Yeah.
boys used to do back
Yeah.
in the day, And so yes, go to Dripping Springs High School at the time. It was just one middle school, one high school, and the standards were set. That's a very high achieving community, high competition. We had not a good football team at the time. And my freshman year, we hire a new coach, and he comes in and he knows how to run a football program. So he sets in place the standards, and you running a business, you know how important standards and expectations are. Like you have to have, that's the baseline, that's the foundation for success. And so he implements this system, and we start going to work. We start getting better. And at the time, football was my second thing. I wanted to play D1 baseball. That had been my dream. Wanted to play in the MLB, and I make my freshman B team. Huge heartbreak, man. All my buddies are on A team. My girlfriend's like, "Oh, you made the B team, man." Like, dang. I'm like, "That's how you're gonna do me?" And man, so I go to the drawing board, and at that time I had a coach, Brad Lehman and Coach Foster, who just they believed in me. They said, "Man, you've got the tools. You might not be coordinated yet, and you might not really know what you're doing, but you have the tools to succeed." And I just doubled down on my work. I
Yeah.
stayed later than everybody else, got there earlier than everybody else, and baseball's working good. And come junior year, I have a couple of D1 offers for baseball that I'm considering. And I'm thinking I'm going to go the baseball route. This coach is like, "We'll develop you. We'll take you to the next level." It sounds great. I'm with it. So I'm thinking I'm going to go the baseball route, but I didn't commit, kept my doors open. And so junior year, the first game of the year, I'm an outside receiver. I'm a backup. 3 drives in, the number one guy gets injured. They're like, "All right, Curtis, get in the game. Here we go." It's Friday Night Lights. Everybody knows how big Friday Night
Yeah.
Lights are. Here we are in the hub of, Texas Friday night football, Midland, Odessa, Permian, you know, whole town's shut down. We're at the game. Like, step up. I come in, don't do anything special, do my job, take care of what I got to do. And the rest was history.
So,
Just take off from
so
there.
you went from okay. Tell us about that. So you went from junior year of high school,
Yes, sir.
and then you were second string.
hmm Game one.
Game one, and then first string got hurt, and then you came in there and you played as best you could, and
Best I
then
could.
next game, yeah, let's go from the second game.
Game
I
two.
like we like football here in West Texas. I play football at Midland High School.
So you know what it's
I
about,
know what it's
man.
about, man. It's I
Absolutely.
understand.
It's the Friday Night Lights, and I had my brothers around me, and I'm sure your high school football teammates are still some of your best
Yeah.
buddies. Like, I played the game at arguably the highest level, and obviously college football now is a business and much different than it was. But man, those days of high school football, Friday nights, the boys are getting on a tailgate after the game. We're going out in the hayfield, you know, they don't know where you're at, and none of the parents are worried about it. They're like, "Okay, man, you're going up to Keith's house and having a good time." And so yeah, man, I step up and I just kept doing my job. doing my job every game. I wasn't worried about I had my baseball thing. I was just having fun. We had a really good team that year, and we go 4 rounds deep into the playoffs, and in the 4th round, we meet Richmond Foster. CD Lamb is the number 1 recruit in the land playing for Richmond Foster. He comes out, NCAA book stats, and they beat us and we lose. And I remember sitting after that game, I'm telling my coach, I'm like, okay, this is the end of football. I'm not playing next year. We're not going to do better. I'm going baseball. I'm committing, this is it. And my coach sat me down. Real man-to-man talk. It's like, and maybe it was in his best interest. Maybe it wasn't, but he's like, I need you 1 more year. Like, don't do it. Just keep the door open. Come back 1 more year. Well, I go out that summer. I'm throwing 92. I'm painting corners. Got a dirty 12-6. And baseball is it's there. I love pitching, man. There's nothing like breaking off a 12-6, and that thing's dotting and you're walking off the mound and I kept the doors open because I love the strength and conditioning of football. I love the brothers I was around. I love the bond we had built over the years. And I believed in us. And I'd become a leader on the team. And this is what we were going to do. And senior year, I get elected captain. And I had a couple of small offers. I grew up a Tech fan. My father went to Tech. Dude, peak Big 12 football, Mike Leach, air it out.
Yeah.
Like, we're throwing 600 yards and 10. We might lose 63-72, but we put on an electrifying show, right?
Dude.
Everybody watched. The fans are drinking beer. Everybody's happy. And that's the ball I grew up on. And that's the brand of football I loved. And that's the high school team we had was same deal. We're airing it out, we're doing all that. And so I decided to come back, and it was
Hold on. So let's back up. So your junior year, you had D1 scholarships for baseball.
Yes, sir.
And you were like, but you didn't have D1 scholarships for football yet.
Nothing.
And then you were just like, hey, I get later, but I liked football. I'd never played baseball, so can't relate to what you're saying. What I'm saying is that I could relate to the bond of football because it's more like a war with everyone because you're trying to plan a war. I feel like it's more relevant to the mind of like a war game more than I don't know, maybe baseball is like sophisticated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll get into the psychological effects of what happened at TCU because a man named Casati changed my entire outlook on life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yes, I had the baseball going for me, but I had brothers I was committed to. I wasn't going to be like, yeah, guys, I'm not going to play. I'm going to call it. I got baseball. That was never me. I'm going to finish the job. I'm going to get it done. So we come out senior year undefeated. We go on the road. I mean, we're smacking teams like to the point where the starters aren't even playing the second half. We're just absolutely grilling people. And it's, Dripping Springs is on the map. We're state rankings, this, that. And before, Dripping Springs was a 4-6 program, hadn't made the playoffs in 15 years type deal. Not real successful, but we had that coach come in, implement TPD, trust, passion, discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of my first introduction to the mental side of the game and seeing how you can have all the physical tools in the world, man. I saw the most talented athletes at the top level not do anything on Saturdays because they didn't have it here. They couldn't put themselves into something bigger. Football's a team game. You see the best quarterbacks lose all the time, right? You had like Caleb Williams at USC. His senior year, it kind of falls off and doesn't do as well as it should have. And they had the best quarterback. Why did they not have the best team? Well, there's 11 players on the field. If they're not all doing their job, it doesn't really matter what one man's doing, which I think translate to a business aspect where if me and my service manager are not on the same page and we're doing, I'm trying to rush him and do this and he he has his order of processes, and here I am, being the salesperson, like, come on, they need this now. It's not going to work. We're not going to agree. We're not going to mold together to get the outcome we want. And, I think that deeply rooted translates to the game of football.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay. Senior year, you guys are smacking people. How does we get to go to TCU? How does that happen?
I'm not done with senior year.
Okay, senior year.
Game 10 rolls around. No, sorry, it was game 9. We're playing Medina Valley, a team we're going to beat by 50. And I catch a ball on the sideline, a hitch, and I turn up field, and I'm stiff arming one guy, and another guy comes and takes out my legs, and I land on my shoulder, pop my labrum. My arm is limp, but we're a hurry up offense. And I look over to coach, and coach is slant right, slant right. Well, that's my touchdown play. You're running a slant to the outside receiver. It's trips left, one guy on the right. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm not coming out of the game, man. I got to get one more. I got to get one more. Slant right comes, and I catch it, score. I don't celebrate. I hand the ref to, I'm in serious pain. Go to the sideline. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And, man, I tore my labrum, busted up my shoulder real bad on my pitching shoulder. And if you know anything about labrums, most pitchers who have labrum surgery never come back. That's, Tommy John's, everybody comes back and they say you come back throwing harder, this and that. But a labrum, your shoulder, and my shoulders are still not right just from that surgery. And so I sit out week 10 and rest up, get ready, but I can still play. And we do our thing in the playoffs. We win the first game. And then the second game, we had a team who thought we were better than we were. We thought we could just show up, business as usual, take care of things. That no matter what sports you're playing, that's never the case. So the worst team can beat the best team on any given day, right? And that's what ends up happening to us. So we get upset, and that's it. I mean, it was brutal. So
Oh. Dang, so you get upset in the second round.
Second round.
Oh my God.
Man, we had state championship dreams with a first round work ethic.
So you tear your labrum, and then you get upset the second round. Okay. Now you're done.
Mhm.
That's senior year. So where are we going after that?
I knew my shoulder was messed up.
Oh, so you weren't, now you're not throwing 93 anymore.
I have to get surgery, get an MRI. This is a 90% tear from the back to the front. But at the time, I'd been talking to Ivy League schools about football, and Army wanted me, Navy wanted me, talking with the Air Force, and then all the Ivy League schools were interested. So I'm like, I call up the school I loved, it's the blue collar Ivy, if that were a thing, right? It's ironic. It's the blue collar Ivy League school is Cornell. And it's in a small town in Western New York. Their football program's gritty, never good, never has been. We got a new coach. I'm hoping it's going in a different direction. And I had seen my friends have this surgery, and I had serious doubts about my ability to play baseball. I liked the coach. I liked the environment. I don't know why at the time, 18 years old, you're a little rebellious against your parents. I'm like, I want to get as far away from this town as possible. Ship up to New York.
Okay. Now you're in New York playing baseball? Or no, football at Cornell.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if that wasn't a culture shock, I don't.
Oh, man, I can't imagine, right?
Quite no.
I can't imagine living with the people in New York. No, there's nothing wrong with people in New York. There's nothing wrong with them. I just know that in Texas, we accept who we are a lot, and I do too. And so when I see other, I don't know, it's very different, isn't it? It was very different.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Here I am, small town, Dripping Springs, grew up in the church every Sunday. I was still in the mindset that everybody believed in Jesus.
You thought,
Turns out that is not the
That's
case.
not the case.
That is absolutely not the case. And that first
Holy
winter
smokes.
rolled around, man. I didn't own a winter coat.
Dude. Oh, you couldn't pay me enough to move north, man.
like,
Don't do it.
just 6 months of no sun.
No, son.
No sun. And, you know, in some good northern towns, you'll get storm and sun. Ithaca is known for being gray and dull, and I actually think it has one of the highest suicide rates.
Yeah.
And
You were
that's
close.
mostly due to international students and this and that, but
Yeah, then depression sets in, right? And then
just from not seeing the sun. Like,
lack of vitamin D. Jesus.
yes, but I was around a good group of guys. And in the football program there, you all kind of bond around how miserable life is there. But you have each other.
Yeah.
Right? You have brothers who are going through the same stuff that you're going through, which I think, and I'm not going to speak on the military, but I think it's kind of similar to that. To, you know, we're suffering, we're going through this hard stuff together. And that just brought us all so close together. And I was just blessed to be around great men who didn't necessarily care for football nearly as much as I did, which always kind of had a separation there. But they cared about working hard. They cared about their education. They were there to learn. They were there to go get big time jobs.
Yeah, the future.
Absolutely.
How'd that work out? To tell us, yeah, well,
Couldn't get healthy,
couldn't get
man.
okay.
I couldn't figure it out. As an 18-year-old kid in New York, I'm skipping class.
Okay.
I'm late to practice. You know, my alarm's not going off, and you know, and I was arguably the best player in my class.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have it here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we just told you before this podcast, man, that I have 16 Fs before I finally was like, maybe I should pass
one.
maybe I should like try and like, man, you know, not be like that, you know? So yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. So
which just shows you don't have, and we're learning this now.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to college to be as intelligent,
Yeah.
to run a super successful business like you do, to have the intelligence level to make the decisions you make was not reflected in your college grades
Right.
at all, right? And man, I scrap by. I make it through that first year somehow, and just couldn't figure it out mentally. And I get injured in the off season, and this was a story I told you. I was like,
Yeah,
maybe
okay.
not gonna tell that.
okay.
Anyhow, my good friend Bryce is like, man, we're going down to the beach house, and we're gonna have a weekend in Port A, and you know, a bunch of 19-year-old kids and not making good decisions, and end up going to karaoke night. And I'm driving the buggy back down Port Aransas, and if you've ever been to Port A, it's you know, there's not Ubers there. This is pre-Uber. Even if there was, there's obviously not taxis. So you're riding the golf cart on the beach because that's the safe bet. And man, I get us right in front of the house and just don't see it. Last second, take a super quick turn and flip a 6-seater, you know, not a golf cart per se, but like a beach golf cart, like those big doggers that are super heavy. And when it's balancing on 2 wheels, I stick out my right foot because I'm trying to, you know, kick it back up and, you know, save it and make a play. And right when I stick my foot out, whoosh, it rolls that way. And my ankle gets trapped under. And now here we are. It's 3 a.m. We're in a very good community that's very quiet, and we just rolled this massive thing. People come running out, all our friends out of the house. We were right in front of the house, you know, 100 feet from being home free.
Holy smokes.
And you make a bonehead decision, which you always got to stay focused, especially driving. All it takes is snap of a finger and make a bonehead decision. And man, I know my ankle's busted, It's day one of the beach trip, though. I'm not going to insurance isn't going to cover the Port Aransas, urgent care, whatever. And so I stick it out. And, the next day we tell our parents some BS lie that obviously they see right through. They're like, oh, okay, right. That's what happened. And man, like I had to pay for repairs on that golf cart. I was 19 in college with not a dollar, and here I am having to pay back my friend's dad for damaging his property. I'm missing the entirety. This was in May and my birthday. So now I'm set back and I'm having thoughts. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to play this year. I had just earned the starting position in spring ball. I finally kind of got my head somewhat dialed in a better spot, taking care of my business in class and just dominating on the field, and clearly wasn't fully grown up. And I make a horrible decision that ends up altering the path of my life. And I told you before this, it's like, there's decisions that end up bad that really end up good.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh, they're
know?
all like that, man. Like, it's just a learning lesson. They're just learning lessons.
One of
Like you
those.
think, yeah, yeah. I feel like you gotta go through it sometimes
Absolutely.
just to know, just to
Yeah.
know where you're gonna. Yeah.
Because and God has that plan, right? It's here I am a child and I'm thinking, man, I just messed up my whole life. My whole life's over. I'll never do anything good again. And that's how quick it is for your mind to just start thinking the worst, thinking the worst. And man, it put me in one. Now I'm in Ithaca, New York. Already not a fun environment, and I can't do the thing I love, which is compete on the field. And as fate would have it, I had a good friend, Griffin Collins, who broke his back. And so he's also rehabbing at the same time I'm rehabbing, and that man works.
Yeah.
He was told he'll never play another snap of football. You break your back, like, hey man, like you're at risk of paralysis. Probably step away from the game. What's it worth? He said, F that. I'm putting in the work every day.
Yeah, I'm going in. Yeah.
I'm going in.
Yeah.
And he was older than me, and he actually hosted me on my official, and he just showed me the way.
Mm-hmm.
He helped me out in school. He took extra time out of his evenings to come in and take care of me, and made sure I was showing up to rehab, made sure, and it grew me like a plant.
Holy smokes. Yeah, that's great. Huh? That's amazing. Yeah. Had a mentor there to like, yeah, I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna stop. We're gonna do this. Yeah, we can die or we can just keep going. There's only two options, right?
Keep swimming, man.
Yeah, keep swimming. Yeah.
Just one more breath, one more step, just one more, just
Mhm.
one more,
One more.
which is what it becomes.
Yeah.
And even in life in general, especially in the business we're in,
Yeah.
man, everything can go wrong. Everything will go wrong all at once,
All the time.
right? And how do you respond to that?
Yeah, it's the response to it. Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna sit here and sulk and, oh, no. Won't solve one problem, solve the next problem, solve the next problem. Keep going. So I just showed up one day, worked harder than everybody else, which is what I did in high school. Showed up again, worked harder than everybody else. And I wasn't super into the education aspect. I wish I would have put more time and effort into that looking back at it now. But man, I had a plan. And there's this guy on our team, this safety, All-American, nobody makes it to the league from Cornell. Nobody's done it. That was I wanted to be a professional baseball player. Now I'm thinking NFL. How can I get there? And I remember, funny enough, the best conversations you'll have in a locker room are in the shower.
Absolutely.
Anybody who's been on a sports team knows, that's what it is, man. And sitting there talking to him, and I'm like, Jelani, what's your plan? Like, where do you go from here? What do you do? And he says, look, I took extra classes in preparation for the NFL. I'm going to graduate early. I'm going to graduate a semester early. because there's no combine training in Ithaca, New York. You go to Dallas, you're getting these professional schedules, building for the 40, peaking. Like, no, if you're in Ithaca, like, you're just on your own. Like, there's not even a pro day. I don't know what you're doing. Like, it's not happening. And that really sat with me. And that was some real men, like, grown up. Like, here I am playing with my classes and seeing the way that he inspired people and the things that he did off the field altered my
Yeah,
perspective
right.
greatly.
Right.
And man, from there, I just go take care of my business. I end up getting another, well, that's a little further down the line. Anyhow, I come back, COVID happens. COVID in Ithaca, New York was getting COVID tested 7 times a week.
I can only imagine, man.
Mandatory mask mandates outside. Here I am, a rebellious kid, it's let me breathe in the fresh air. I'm ripping off my mask outside. My buddies are doing it too, and we're having a good time with it.
Rebelling against the COVID.
Yeah, man, come on. Like, you're going to tell me, and it changed everything, but it put my classes online. And when my classes went online, okay, now I don't have to spend 30 minutes walking to class. Now I have more time. Now I took that time and reinvested it in my nutrition, reinvested it in my recovery, and just built myself into a better player because that's what I cared about. And man, senior year happens. I'm killing it. We have a mediocre team again, which was greatly disappointing because
Yeah, you were trying hard.
it's like being a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Right. It's like everybody's like, oh, this is the year, this is the year, this is the year. We have great players on our team, great talent, and we just can't figure it out. We just couldn't put it together. And playing excellent through 5 games. We get a Friday night game against Colgate, ESPN Plus. It's a big one. Lights are on, and I'm having a good game. And about 5 minutes left in the second quarter, they run a lot of man coverage, one high, and we go trips right, fade left, which is the go-to, and throws it up, and I land on my shoulder, bust my shoulder. And this time it's AC joint labrum. Like, yeah, you probably shouldn't play. Next week rolls around. Like, coach, I'm not playing the first half, but I'm going to suit out, and we're playing Brown, big rival game. They also run one high. Any outside receiver who gets man coverage, like, let's go. It's you versus me. Who's going to make a play, which I love about the game of football. You get, and that's what the great offensive coordinators do in the game too, is try to isolate the one-on-one matchup with your best player.
Right.
So we get out there and we're losing going into the second half. I'm like, coach, I'm ready. And, they do a great job of maintaining your pain in college football, I will say, sometimes to the discernment of people later on down the line.
Okay.
If you know what I'm getting at
But
there.
at the time, we're all for it.
It's
just Saturday. We got to win, dude.
Let's play the game, coach.
Let's play
Get me
football,
out
dude.
there.
Yeah.
Man, I come in the second
I'm
half.
not worried about that. I wouldn't either. I understand.
Well, and that's their agenda. They get paid to win.
Yeah.
You want your best players on the field. What do we have to do to make that happen?
Yeah.
On and on
That's
and
all right.
on.
Yeah.
Right? So they get me out there, 4 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. We end up losing by 3, but man, I came out and beasted the second half.
Yeah.
So I maintained the pain, have a great rest of the season. I played every other game, like the rest of the games, and now recruiting's coming around. And the transfer portal just became a thing.
Okay.
So boom, I jump in the transfer portal right after the last game. I remember driving to New York City, and I didn't have the money to, have somebody edit my highlight reel, and I'm sitting there on iMovie, like, trying to figure out how to get clips and, like, what games and what camera angles to make it look cool and put some music to it. And I just had fun with it. And I emailed roughly 150 Division I coaches.
Okay.
Every single one. I got one response. One. And it is from the SMU coaching staff. They're like, hey, we like your stuff, want to meet you, see what it's about, and ghost me. I'm like, man,
So you're done with football, right?
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And it was 2 weeks later. It was a Saturday. I'll never forget. And Tyler Olker calls me up and he's like, hey, Curtis, we moved over to TCU. It's not public knowledge yet. And that's Sonny Dykes getting hired at TCU, which SMU and TCU are notorious rivals. Like, that's the Iron Skillet, big rivalry game
Yeah.
in the DFW. Like,
Yeah.
TCU's DFW's Big 12 team, and SMU's got that little brother energy. Like, we're going to give you our best match
Yeah.
every time. And so, like, don't post anything, but we want you to be a part of the team. Done.
Yeah,
No
right.
question. Like, God answered all my prayers. Like, every worry I had, like, just put it into perspective. Like, here's the door. You want to play Big 12 football? And it wasn't Tech.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Tech,
Yeah.
and it wasn't, but it was that purple, man. And just from there, just completely changed my life.
Yeah. So this was after your senior year, the 5th year. You were like a 5th year.
No, I graduated in 3.5 years from Cornell,
Oh, okay. Okay.
which was big. So then I get to TCU, but I had my shoulder thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, the first thing we're going to do day one, I'm already in the school. I'm already ready to go. We're going to do a physical. Everybody has to pass physical. You got to pass the basic tests. And they're doing this test with my shoulder. And I cannot, like, I'm trying to sell it. Like, I don't even mention it. I'm trying to, and it just keeps dislocating when she has me do this press. She's like, we can't pass you.
Oh no.
It's like, yeah, like, you're going to have to get surgery. So I was gracious enough that they allowed me to get surgery with their surgeon and go through their PT program, because typically they won't do that because it was at another school. So they take care of me. They get me around the guys. I'm showing up for all the workouts, but you're just kind of the guy standing on the side injured. It's hard to relate with people. And so, yeah, build back from there. And that's where I meet Casati. And for those who know Coach Kaz, he'll open your mind to a completely, like, this is so much bigger than you 18 to 22-year-old kids think.
Yeah, right.
Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And his biggest thing is he's going to train your mind. This isn't about being a strong weightlifter. This isn't about how fast you are. This is about when it's fourth quarter, when I need a play, when our team needs a first down on 4th and 1, who's going to forget how tired they are? Who's going to forget, like, how miserable and out of breath and I need to throw up? Like, no, who's going to put that aside and stick their nose in something and get their team this yard?
Yeah.
And the way that he trains a young man's mind is unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Yeah. Okay. Senior year. Now you're at TCU.
But I have 2 years left because I had a medical red shirt and COVID.
Yeah. So 2 years. So your first year. So you played there did you play for TCU for 2 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
First year, I'm still rehabbing from surgery, and the medical staff at TCU is incredible, and they are at Cornell as well. And they took such excellent care of me and gave you all the resources to take care of yourself. And then I have Cause training my
Right,
psychology.
like in your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear the 90%,
Yeah.
skill, or 90% mental, the song or however it
Yeah.
goes.
Everyone says, yeah, right.
He lives that.
At that time, like even myself, I'm like, this is just all gimmick, because you're like 8, 19, 20, whatever. You think that you're still the best thing that ever happened in the world, So yeah, that's funny.
Absolutely. And some guys are still like that.
Yeah.
And so some guys are like, man, Cause, you're not the guy. I'm not listening to you. Like, that's BS, yada, yada, yada. And me being a grown man at the time, I'd already graduated college. I went to the frat parties. I had the fun. Like, I'm here for money. I'm here to go to the league and get paid. I'm
Yeah.
not worried about this and that. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to bed when the sun's still up, to get my 8 hours to wake up and go and have a dominant workout, to lead. And man, I get my shot against Oklahoma State finally. It's the 4th game of the year. And Coach Tom Erdahl was like, we're going to put you on kickoff.
Dude, kickoff's the best though. I lived by kickoff, man. Even me, I was a little small, but I was the wedge buster because you just could. I just wanted to run. I wanted to hit. I just wanted to
Yep.
go full speed and just get to do it.
Absolutely.
It just made you so happy.
And me being an outside receiver, though, I'm like, oh, like, man, I've started every game at Cornell. Like, kickoff, I put that aside. I'm like, I'm playing in a Big 12 game. Oklahoma State's ranked 7th at the time. We're 3-0, and nobody has many expectations for us. And I'm the wedge buster.
Yes, you were the wedge buster.
I'm the wedge
Yes.
buster. Well, at the time, I could run 22 miles an hour. And our kicker was real good at kicking it out of the back of the end zone. But if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to show him I'm the fastest.
I'm going to run 22 miles an hour down this field.
I do that. And from there, man, just build and build and build. And we kill it. That was the year we go to the national championship.
Okay.
And, since we're running low here on time, I'll just briefly touch on that team versus the next team, which translates. We didn't even get into the business aspects.
Man, I know we have some. We'll go again another time, dude.
We'll need to really get into some of that nitty gritty. But this relates to business. This relates to life.
Yeah.
I was on that winning team. I was on the team.
Let's go. Yeah. So the big after Curtis's football career, he goes to TCU and they go to the national championship in 2000. What year was it?
I think it was 22.
22 against.
No, it was against Georgia.
Georgia
get smacked.
Yeah, they get smacked. But you went to the national championship for TCU. And we can go back out before that. So you were at the where were you at during
the business there?
Yeah, okay.
So the leader on that team was Max Duggan.
Okay.
Max Duggan was slated as the number 2 quarterback. Everybody wrote him off. He was a recruit from a different staff. Not the most talented quarterback I've ever played with.
Mm-hmm.
But Max Duggan.
Yeah, put in the work or what? Oh, yeah.
When it's 4th and 1, he wants you to hit him.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Yeah.
Show me what you got. Like, let's do it. I want it. Give me everything. And his winning, I hate the word aura. It's like a big meme word nowadays. Right? Like,
no, my daughters, they're like aura. I'm like, yeah, dude, aura.
For sure. Yeah, right? Yeah. And his aura was, I will do anything for this team to win.
Yeah.
I will do anything. And seeing the way that he led that team and did that was life-changing. And we put in that work every day. Nobody outside of our team thought we were going to win. We ended up getting 2nd in the Big 12. It was 4th and 1. It was a terrible call. Those who know football know that was whatever. We'll leave it at that. Anyhow, we put in that work every day, not caring what the result would be. When you're in your business, there's those things you don't want to do. Sure, you wake up on a Tuesday morning, like, but something clicks in your head. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the extra step. I'm going to do one more. And that team did it. And a big part of Cause's training is breaking you down to where you turn on your teammate. At what point can I get you to where you're so tired, you're making mental errors, you're no longer thinking about the task at hand, you're thinking about, oh, this is so terrible. Like, I can't believe this customer did this to me. I can't believe. At what point can I get you to that?
Yeah, to the victim mentality rather than the yeah, absolutely.
And at what point can I get you there and get you to take one more? Yeah. And then one more. And then one more.
Yeah.
That team did that. We didn't care. The next team, we all thought we were hot stuff. We thought we're the reigning Big 12 runner up. We're the reigning, like, we're going back to the national championship. It doesn't matter. And we were focused on the result. We're focused on week 12. We're thinking about, oh, we got to go play Kansas State in Manhattan. We weren't thinking about getting up to the line and doing one more.
Yeah, right.
And you lose touch with that. And that's where you lose focus. You lose sight of what you're doing. And I'm sure you can relate to that, if ever, just with the nature of your business.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, man, I will go back and say that there was a few things that you said multiple times that I'll tell one story here. And that is that I I don't have the same cool war stories. I did play football and I did love the warring about it and the camaraderie and the fight that everyone has and the bond that people make. But it was funny. My parents were divorced and I was traveling. My dad worked for an aviation company here in Midland, and I traveled with a very wealthy man for free on his personal jet.
Wow.
Okay. And I was probably 13, and he obviously is widely successful in his field. And I actually am going to ask him to come on this podcast. He's very old. I don't know if he will, but he's retired. He's done now. But still remember this memory as in like a 12 or 13-year-old kid. Like, dude, how'd you get here?
How'd you get this jet?
How'd you get this? I'm 13. I'm like, how'd you get this jet, man? I still remember it. And he was like, I just did this. He did the point. He's like, I just did this much more than everybody else did. That's all I did. Just to see what everybody else is doing. Just do that much more. That's how I got this jet, man. That's what he told me. And dude, this guy never met me. He brought me. I remember Jump Burrito. He brings my sister and I Jump Burrito in his jet. Like, I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Like, you're wealthy, but you're wow, I didn't know you were like cool. Like, you're this cool. Like, and so he started
Normal guy.
just a normal guy. Tell me the real truth of, and that actually is these things that happened in your life stuck with you. And I had these few moments of like clarity for a few things of like, how do you get there? And you're like, just, yeah, that's it. Like, what's the answer? And like, that's the answer. See what everyone else is doing, like you said, and just work a little bit harder than everyone else does. And then what's beautiful is that if I am competing with Curtis and he's working extremely hard and I have the mindset that I'm going to work a little bit more than Curtis, there's no way we both don't win in that scenario. Does that make sense? We're both going to win because we're overwhelming everyone else in the whole, like,
Absolutely.
Does it make sense? That's how that works.
Competition breeds excellence.
Yeah, the competition will just compound on itself. And so then there you are. So that's funny that you cited that twice throughout this, and I remember that story of like these people throughout your life. So yeah,
absolutely. And I think something that really sticks with me, and I can't remember who says it, is it's so easy to be excellent in the world nowadays just by doing more and more.
Yeah.
Just waking up and doing the work, just putting yourself out there. I might get told 10 times in a row, no, like, get out of here. We don't take salespeople. The 11th one I stop into, the one more that maybe I was like, oh, I'm going to lunch. Like, that's enough. I did one more. And it just compounds.
Yeah.
And that's just decision making compounding.
Yeah. Could you imagine if it was like 500 years ago when we were still hunting for our food, and like, dude, we would, like, most of us would be just so toast. We would be
like, hey man, I'm gonna just stay back. Like, good luck, guys. Y'all go get an elk. I'm taking the day off. I don't feel great. Like, come on.
It didn't work like that. Yeah, it does today though. It's fine. It's fine.
Unfortunately, it does, and that's a conversation.
Yeah. So I like the story of the so let's get, because we got a few minutes left. Let's get to the Curtis. You played receiver or tight end?
So I played slot receiver, and Garrett Riley, who was our Lincoln Riley's little brother at the time, still Lincoln Riley's little brother, but Garrett Riley was our OC at the time. He has what's called he runs true air raid. we're throwing the ball 50 times a game, and he has what's called like a hybrid slot receiver. So at the time, I'm 228, big body, and I'm playing slot receiver. And he leaves, and we get a new OC, and that put me into tight end. So then I had to keep eating. And now I go and see all my teammates, and they're like, wow, you're so skinny. Like, thanks. Thanks.
He used to be so big. He
Yeah.
used to eat a lot.
Yeah.
And then, so you guys went to the national championship against
Georgia.
Georgia, and got smacked. But that's more than 99.9% of us will ever see. So that's super cool that you got to experience that.
Incredibly grateful for those times. And, you talk about the journey, your athletic successes, your business successes, your personal successes, and it all ties back to the people who poured into me.
Mhm.
My mother making those sacrifices, my father showing me what it means to work hard, to double down, to bet on yourself. My coaches who believed in me, my coaches who showed me how to work hard, how to take 15 extra swings in the batting cages, how to just compound those decisions, and having a mentor, having men who believe in you. And that's where I'm at in my life now is, my football days are over. I love what I'm doing. I'm blessed. I'm grateful for everything going on. How can we as men give back? How can I show the kid who is 10 years old and thinks everybody's way better than him that, hey, if you just do this every day, like, you'll be the ones playing on Saturdays, while the kid who's maybe more talented right now won't. And that's the love for the game I have now, is being able to give back in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. And then I'll say is that, for people who don't know, Curtis and I both started jiu-jitsu, and we're both beginners.
Yes, we are. Very, very much
And
so.
I'm 35, Curtis is 25, and it's another breed of getting 10 years. I still try to compete. I know that as I'm aging, I'm still not slow, I'm still not slow, but I'm starting to slow, and I'm gonna go graceful, okay? But I'm gonna compete as long as I'm
love it.
able. And I would say that you can't stop. I still race enduro. Like, you can't stop that competing.
No.
And then one of the things I've actually been saying, and this is off topic, was that I tell people about the jujitsu thing, and they're like, they say, I would just freak out and I would just lose it, and then go, and I'm like, no, you're just making an excuse. No, you wouldn't, because like, you get on the, like, I understood, like, from what my understanding is, like, yeah, when I was in high school being a punk and I was fighting a bunch of guys, like, we were just losing it, but this is a whole type of different ball game. And we didn't touch on jujitsu at all, but jujitsu, it's a like, that's not what happens.
No.
Like, yes, you are there to kill the other guy, and that's fine, but you also know that the guy's not going to actually kill you. So and then the funny part about it is that as us beginners learn, is that you learn to actually calm yourself down when you're fighting each
Breathe.
other. And that is the most important thing in a real life scenario. If that were to happen to you, is to not just freak out, is to stay calm, and then you will perform the best in that situation. And so that's funny, even now, giving me life lessons in jujitsu about like performance and competition, and seeing, like, I just thought, man, that's not a real thing. And people saying that's just an excuse to not go. And
Absolutely.
you got to go battle someone. And then after that, and after we battle, and I always feel like you have like you're like calm for the day. It like sets you up.
I love how you get up and get after it.
Yeah.
How your gym does those early morning classes.
Yeah.
That's like, all our classes are in the late
It
evenings,
is.
but not freaking out. But anybody cannot freak out when you and I are going 10% and you're showing me this, I'm showing you that. How do you not freak out when you're 4 minutes into a match, you can't breathe, your thoughts are focused on not breathing? In a business environment, how do you freak out? How do you not freak out when everything's going wrong, when the whole world's against you, and and nothing's right, and that's what it is. And jujitsu is
Yeah.
the same
Or
thing.
to yourself. Yeah. Like so many things, like you're injured, you make this mistake. It's like the world, you feel like the world's caving in on you, and you just gotta like stay cool and understand that this is just the lessons of life coming to you, and that you're gonna like don't freak out so much where you lose it, and then once you get through it, then like you're like now you went to the you've taken the step to the next level. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, well, so with that, Curtis, I'm gonna let us go, but we're gonna have to do this again
We
because
will.
there was so many subjects that we missed. We missed the business that we talked about, so we're gonna have to do this again and talk more business and the drama and equipment and more life stuff.
Yes, absolutely. We'll do that after we get a little dirt bike up in the canyon there,
Okay.
like you said.
All right.
Thanks for having me,
Thanks for
man.
coming, man.
This was awesome.